Welcome to the Freud's Angels weekly reading, bringing the collective guidance and understanding for this week's energy.
Remember, never give your power up to a reader or a reading. You always have the power of autonomy. Hey, angels, welcome to your weekly reading. We are reading March 16th through the 22nd. Now, we were recording this a week early, so I don't know how it's gone down in Mercury Retrograde land for you, but yeah, I hope you're faring well. I hope you're using all the tools that you have, because you have the tools to get through this with as much grace as possible. But remember, always, always, always think before you act and speak. Try not to book anything, but just know if you have to, do it. Don't fear it. Don't fear retrograde. It's part of giving us a perfect blessing moment of being able to just review what's coming up. And, how are you faring after the eclipse? What clarity, what truth has been shown to you? How are you working with it? How are you coping with it? And it's okay to sometimes not cope very well, because sometimes the truth that shows up is not comfortable. But remember to lean on your support systems, therapy, energy work, whatever support system you have, and utilize them to help you maneuver through this. Vanessa, what are our mermaids telling us this week?
Well, our mermaids, we haven't had this card a bunch of times, but we've had it before. It's the contentment card. Again, I feel like the collective world right now is very non-content. So we're really grasping at straws here with this one. I feel like it's probably pretty triggering for a lot of people who are feeling the unrest. But the thing about, when I look at it today versus any other day, is that I'm very hyper conscious of the fact that she's holding herself. She's got her legs, she doesn't have legs, but she has her
Tail.
what would be legs, yeah, being held by her arms and holding them very close to her body. So she's holding herself. And there is a lighthouse in the distance that is beaming light, and there's swirling color all around her. But to me, that's the holding yourself made me just, it felt like it was louder than anything else this time. And I think that that's the key, is that contentment being an internal process versus everything outside has to be good in order for me to be content. So I felt that when I looked at it, I felt, okay, how do I still be okay or better, right? Like my clients know, neutral or better. We're looking for that. Neutral is absolutely great. We're into it. We're just not trying to jump off cliffs. So if we're standing there in contemplation, we take it, right? Like we're like, yes, we're not jumping. Good for us, right? Like that's what it feels like when I look at this, of just being like, hey man, neutrality is good. Neutrality is okay. If it is just holding onto yourself and saying, I know that I have these abilities or these dreams and goals, and the outside world is maybe making it a little bit more difficult for me. However, I believe in myself, and I'm grateful for myself and my abilities and my decision making and the people around me, and all of that kind of stuff. Because a lot of times people have a hard time with gratitude when things are rough, right? Because they're like, I don't have anything to be grateful for, because the louder thing is the negative thing, because that's the thing that wants the attention. It wants the attention, it wants the healing. So this is kind of that call to being able to hold both, that it's okay to be in unrest. It's okay to feel like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. But internally, we're wanting to hold ourselves. We're wanting to hold our gratitude. We're wanting to hold our ability to still feel hope, ability. It keeps coming, like the word ability keeps coming up a lot. And I think that that's, by design, because I think a lot of people are losing touch with their ability because they're freaking out, and so it's becoming an external process more than an internal process. And so today when I hear it, it's not about just sit down and be content. It is about hold yourself in your values, your surroundings, your environments, the things that you've created for yourself. And if those feel unsafe for you, that's part of your evaluation here, of saying, well, I need to be able to do that. That is important to me, to be able to hold myself. How can I create that for me so that I
Mm.
can hold myself regardless of whatever else is going on around me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's, from what I feel is that there's a lot about the conversation and the belief system we have around contentment
Mhm.
and how sometimes we equal contentment with what's the other word I'm thinking of?
Complacency.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for connecting those dots because I'm like, I'm thinking something. I just need help getting there.
Right there.
Yeah. And it's not. It's
Yeah.
not.
No, not at all.
Contentment is just you can be content with while there's storms raging around you. You
Mhm.
can have that sense of self and have that sense of knowing your your focus, your vision, your purpose. You can be content in building your foundation. Like right now, the world is on fire, but I'm in a space of contentment, knowing that I'm building something that will help people wage the fire, put the fire
Absolutely.
out, deal with the fire. I am content in what I'm making regardless of even I don't know what it is yet. Like I know some of it, but I don't know the whole picture. And I'm just like, I'm okay with that because I know that I don't know everything I need to do yet. And I'm going to feel into it. And it's, all the conversations that normally happen when I'm doing this are happening. But at the same time, I'm feeling like, yep, I'm content with this purpose because I know it. I know what it's going to do and how powerful it will be. So yeah, contentment doesn't always mean you just give up and stop doing
Not
things.
at all. Not at all. As a matter of fact, it's a way to
Yeah.
garner strength to do more.
Yeah. Yeah. So
What are we surrendering along with being content? I swayed, so it must be
yeah, I know.
good.
You're flowy. It's flowy. So, fun fact, speaking of that, before I share the card. So did y'all know this is I'm learning so much in my trauma therapy about, EMDR is about connecting the two brain halves together, right? Crossing the brain barrier between the right and the left, because generally it can't do it. Well, when you do EMDR, it's done with eyes, but you can also do it with different things like vibration, music, there's bilateral beats, things like that, right? So in meditation, often or in this place, I often sway from left to right. And I didn't know this, but yeah, my therapist was like, yeah, it's because you're trying to cross your brain barrier because you're processing what you're feeling. You're integrating what that is into your being. You're allowing whatever
Yeah.
is coming up or information or healing to happen because that's what the swaying is the back and forth, is to experience what you're experiencing on a total level. And I'm like, okay, now I don't feel so weird. My body
Yeah.
naturally knows what to do to balance me out. It knows how to cross that brain barrier. And I've been doing it forever in a minor sense, not in deep therapy, but in a sense of naturally our bodies knows what to do to help us process. And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
It is
Anyways,
fascinating. And
sorry.
it's also why I'm sure. I mean, I rocked my child more than I ever thought I ever would. I mean, I held that child and rocked her back and forth every night before bed. I'm doing it right now, just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And like the deep unrest we were both in at that time required that connectivity and that like, okay, we're in a safe space right here. And really and like kind of integrating it
Yeah.
multiple times a day totally makes sense. And I do it. I mean, I do it too. Like if I'm in conversation with people sometimes, I'll just kind of rock back and forth on my
Yeah.
heels and I'm just like, ah, stop being a weirdo.
Yeah.
These people but I'm just moved by the conversation and that makes sense because I love to feel what people are telling me. Like I want to hold what people are telling me
Yeah.
as knowledge. So
Yeah.
somatics, imagine that.
Yeah. I know, right? Validity. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we are surrendering to our intuition, which is not a big surprise. We do that every day. But
Yes.
we're focusing on it this week. And if you think about the idea of contentment, contentment comes when we're in our flow, when we're in our intuitive self, when we've allowed our intuition to be our compass. I almost think these last couple of readings, we should have read it the opposite way because it leads into the other. Like contentment, trusting, surrendering to our intuition leads into contentment because we're
Yeah.
connected to our compass, which is our heart compass. Our heart and our heart is connected to spirit, our intuition, the place where all of our information sits. When we're in meditation doing the hollow bone, we go into that sacred heart space and we go there to get answers, to get healing, to get information, to meet with our wisdom keepers, to meet with our business teams, to meet with our angels. That's where we go, because that is the gateway to all of that is not physical, all of the things outside of us, right? And so when we're in our intuition and we're surrendering that, we're in our heart, we're in our space of acceptance and flow. And what it says is tune into your inner voice, be aware of any gut feelings, flashes, knowings, or aha moments that come through to guide you. Well, it's your heart just guiding you, the true heart, the sacred heart, not the heart that my heart is broken. My heart has a bad rap because you think it tells you to go back to the person. It's not your heart, it's your head, it's your fears, it's your insecurities. That's what tells you to go back. Heart has nothing to do with it. The heart would never put you in a place where you're not okay. And so we need to take the heart out of that conversation and know that that is your brain. It is your fears, your insecurities, all of that. Anyway, sorry.
No,
I had to defend the heart for a minute because it gets a bad rap. And
that's what people were going to say when they're listening. But my heart said, check in, because no, that's not what the heart does. The heart is not like, let me walk into the bloodbath.
Yeah.
No, that's your head bringing you there.
Let me go to a place where I'm completely out of my intuition and in survival and in stress and trauma. No, your heart's not going to do that. Sorry to say. Yeah. And that part that masquerades as the heart does that because it's its way of convincing you to go where it's the safety thing. I know it seems stupid, but it is, because go to the devil versus not the unknown and the fear of being whatever fear you have. For me, for a long time, was the fear of being alone for the rest of my life, and so I went into relationships and I thought my heart wants this. No, my heart didn't want it. My brain and my fear did. My trauma did. And that when I learned that, I was like, okay, my heart has nothing to do with this. Nothing. Yeah. And so, that also helped me break the barrier between the heart and the mind, right? Because I didn't trust my heart for a long time. And now I do, because I know what it sounds like. The energy of my heart and my intuition is vastly different than the energy that would tell me to go do things or do whatever. It's a vastly different energy.
Yeah. And I think people need to be reminded that intuition isn't just the gut feeling of, oh no, because I think a lot of people think of that where they're only looking for the oh no feeling, which, comes in, right? Like when we're walking somewhere and we're like, maybe not safe, right? Like we're checking in like, well, do I know the whole story of why it's not safe? Because that would be trauma. If it's just a hair on the back of my neck, it's your intuition just saying, maybe just be more careful. You don't have to run, but just pay attention, right? Yeah. But we always think of that as intuition. But, if you're paying attention, and I feel like that at different times in my life, I'm paying attention. Intuition is like a leader in all the spaces, right? Like when I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking, it's not about, oh, don't put that much salt in, because it's like, put just that much because it's going to be beautiful, right? Like that's following your intuition too. And I think that that's a good thing for people to understand, is that your intuition is also telling you what's good. It's also telling you where to continue to keep walking. It's also telling you, when to sit down and when to hang out, and that all your intuition is working way more than just to warn you. And I think that that's like a thing that people think, is that intuition is here just to warn you.
Yeah, no, not a thing. Yeah. So our money mantra card is, I deserve the best. I deserve an abundant and rich life, and in all the ways, not just money, but everything. We
lush
all are.
Greenery. However lush greenery happens, I'm into it.
Absolutely. We hope that this week we definitely hope that you're managing the eclipse well, and that you're breathing before you speak, you're checking your emails, making sure you're sending it to the right person, and the text and the messages and all the things, so you're not sending it to the wrong one. Think before you speak, but sending you lots of love and patience and a lot of grace to get through this. And we won't have the podcast this week. This is our week off, but we will see you next week.
Love y'all. Thanks for listening.
We hope we gave you something to support your journey.
Check out our Facebook or Instagram page to connect with us.
Have a great week.